Well, good morning, Arizona. We begin with some breaking news after the train catches fire and a bridge partially collapsed. At last check, the fire was now bumped up to a third alarm fire.
Really incredible, Javier. And I mean, we've been digesting this since early in the 6 o'clock hour, but it kind of takes your breath away when you're taking in these images of a place that we know so well, of a landmark spot in Tempe, you know, iconic video. Whenever you see a video of ASU, I mean, you see a flyover shot of Tempe Town Lake. And today, this is quite the different image.
Yeah, we're just getting word right now from Union Pacific calling this a derailment and then a collapse. So that's according to Union Pacific. That was their train right there. These are live images and a video from earlier from our Lions Roofing news chopper as we've been covering this scene since shortly after 6 o'clock this morning. We want to remind folks, according to the Tempe police chief, there are no known reported injuries at this point.
Yeah, silver lining, because we know a lot of people are in this area in the morning exercising, enjoying the beauty surrounding Tempe Town Lake before it gets too hot in the day. And we've heard from many of those people throughout our breaking news coverage this morning, and we continue that team coverage today. So right now we have Gibby and Ernie on location in Tempe. Bruce flying over the scene in the Lions Roofing news chopper. So we are delivering you the developing coverage of this as we all as a community digest what has happened like nobody else can. So let's begin with Gibby, who has been out on scene talking to people who were witnessing this and feeling like, you know, they escaped potentially losing their own lives. Gib.
They have, Olivia, and here's the thing, you know, Union Pacific, along with that message, said it was about 8 to 10 cars that were damaged out here, as Javier mentioned. Also, part of that was that the crew was fine on here, but that one person out here was treated for smoke inhalation. You talk about the viewers that we ran into or those who were out here, it's no surprise that somebody was going to get treated for smoke inhalation. As heavy as the fire was out here at 6 o'clock this morning, just shortly after, when this train derailed and then caught fire, causing a lot of the lumber that was on this train to just burn. And it burned hot and it burned fast. As crews were out here, a lot of people who were exercising, they sent us in their video. This is some of the video that they sent us just moments, and I should say seconds after they heard a snap, a crackle, followed by an explosion. One of them telling us that he used to work for the railroad and he noticed that some of those carts had that hazardous material sign on it, meaning that had that caught fire, that could have been a bigger problem. Back out here live, one of the things I've noticed here of late, guys, is that the railroad company has been over off to the side here, going in and out of the carts. They're probably trying to figure out how to unhitch some of these and kind of move those off of the bridge to make it a little easier to work with. So some scary moments for those who were out there. Ernie, you caught up with one as well who was just under the bridge as this happened.
Yeah, I actually spoke to Camille, who we had on the phone. I spoke to her in person, and right now she was literally shaken up. Her voice was trembling. She was like on the verge of tears, just showing you just how terrifying this experience was for her to escape. Now, I want to mention that Tempe Fire tells us that they started receiving calls around 6 o'clock this morning for this train derailment. And you might be wondering, why is this fire still going? Well, one of the reasons they say is because there are several train cars that have lumber in them. But then there are some that have unidentifiable or unknown hazardous materials right now. So they're waiting to identify those materials to figure out how they go about fighting this fire. I want to go ahead and bring in Brandon here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Just tell us, where does the operation stand at this moment?
Right now, we're still working on a slow and methodical approach. We do know that we do not have any injuries of first responders or bystanders in the area. We do have the train conductor safe, and that train conductor is helping our hazardous materials technicians. At this point, due to the difficulties of fighting a hazardous materials fire on a train bridge over a body of water, we are going, again, slow and methodical to make sure that none of our first responders are hurt.
You said about 90 firefighters helping in this fight so far. Once you are able to identify what's in some of those other tanker cars, what type of approach will you take? Will there be aerial approach, boat approach to getting the fire completely out?
Sure. So right now, since the hazardous materials in the tankers is unknown, we're taking a worst case approach as far as setback distances, and we're keeping everybody evacuated as far as possible given the worst type of material. Once we are able to determine, hopefully, that the material is less hazardous and the fire is more under control, we will move in a little bit closer. As far as any sort of aerial assistance, what does make it difficult is that we are along Tempe Beach Park and Salt River, which is directly in the flight path for Sky Harbor Airport, so we are somewhat limited as far as getting aerial vehicles in the air. However, we do have an unmanned aerial vehicle that will be in the area to assist us with locating hotspots, and we have notified the FAA and Sky Harbor Tower.
A lot of people were mentioning that I spoke to over there about the beautiful birds, the ecosystem, the water here. Has anything been damaged to the water or anything like that you can tell at this point?
We don't have any idea yet as far as what has gone into the water. Luckily, this is a dammed lake. We do have man-made dams at either end of the Tempe Town Lake, which is keeping any of the debris that might go in the water from going into the remainder of the Salt River area. Luckily, most of the bridge collapse and the train cars, which did collapse as well, those are over land, including over Rio Salado Parkway, which is closed at this time. But we are hoping that most of the debris from the hazardous materials is actually not going in the water, but if it does, it will be isolated to Tempe Town Lake.
Thank you so much, Brandon. I want to go ahead and bring in Greg here with Tempe Police to give us an idea. Greg, how are you guys helping with this overall evacuation and keeping this area safe for people?
So at this point, we're following the lead of Tempe Fire, and basically anywhere where they need to have evacuations done, traffic control, we're providing support in that area. So we have officers all over the area near Tempe Beach Park that are preventing people from accessing the area where the fire is occurring. And so some of the areas I just want to go over that we're asking people to completely stay out of for their safety, but also to help our crews battle this fire, and that is all of the beach park. We don't want anybody in the beach park at this time. There's a lot of smoke going on in the area. Again, as the fire has talked about, we don't really know what's in those tankers, so we want to keep people away from that area. First Street, anywhere on First Street between Rio and Ash Avenue, we want to keep people out of that area. We want to thank DPS for their swift response to help us. They got the Loop 202 completely shut down between the Loop 101 and the 143 in both directions. We do appreciate them helping us get traffic and pedestrians off of that area as well. The Mill Avenue Bridge, and obviously at this time the lake is closed for any recreational use.
Anything else? We know this is a very active community. People biking, walking, jogging. What else would you want people to know at this moment? Because this is kind of an ongoing situation where you're kind of waiting to see how they can really fight and tackle this thing.
Yeah, today is just one of those days where we're going to ask people that for the remainder of the afternoon, until we can get some, Union Pacific out here, engineers to talk about the bridge and things like that. We just want to keep people very safe and out of this area. So, hopefully those people that got up early enough, that got their workout in. If not, today, it's hot. Might be a good day to skip your workout and get back at it tomorrow. We just want to keep people safe, and that's the big message here for us. And how swift the fire department was in their response is probably the biggest reasons why they are able to confine this to the specific area that it's at now.
Thank you so much, Greg.
Thank you.
Guys, another part with keeping people safe, Brandon with Tempe Fire says that they will actually be rotating their firefighters because this humidity, this heat with all of their gear can create extremely dangerous conditions for them while they are out here. But currently they are working with the conductor, Union Pacific, to go ahead and try and identify what's in the rest of those tankers so they can figure out how to get the fire completely out. And I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
They're all doing an amazing job so far.
Thank you. Absolutely, and they're the right strategy, clearly, to make sure that they're putting safety of our fire crews at the top, because luckily we're so fortunate that nobody has been injured in this and that they're able to get the expertise both from the railroad and from the conductor there on scene. So that's going to help a lot.
Yeah, and when it is this warm, guys, or hot, we should say, what they typically do is 20 minutes in, 20 minutes out, and they'll set up some kind of a triage center where the firefighters can cool down, take off their gear, and then let somebody somebody else go in, and then they'll rotate in and out, again, for everybody's safety and really to get a good handle on this fire so that we don't have to treat somebody for, heat-related incidents. So thank you, Aaron. You really appreciate your report from there.
We want to turn now to Bruce Hafner. You've been giving us these unbelievable images, and I would imagine it's pretty, I guess, jaw-dropping for you, considering that's where you went to college and spent a lot of time right in that area.
Yeah, and that bridge has been here long before I went to Arizona State in 1974. We're right over Sky Harbor Airport. We want to thank the air traffic controllers because this is the shot that it looked like when they allowed us to hover in between the runways. Those guys are awesome with us, allowing us to get our shots to tell the story. This is what it looked like to them this morning. And check this out, this Alaska airplane, we're going to fast forward it real quick and show you that they were diverting, and they still are diverting, all the airliners and the cargo airplanes to the north and to the south of Tempe Town Lake because the firefighters don't know exactly what they have down there in those tanks. So that's what it looks like from the Lions Roofing News Chopper. A lot of smoke over Tempe. Jerry, if you can click to the first shot you had, I don't know if you can go through there, hit your tail cam and go to the first shot because we want to leave you with this, what it looked like when we first arrived. You could not have set this up better if you were shooting a motion picture and trying to show a catastrophe, because look at the Tempe Town Lake Railroad Bridge, built in 1912. It collapsed on the Tempe side of the lake, dropping a couple of tanker cars to the ground over Rio Salado Parkway and the Tempe Beach Park area, and that's what it looked like at 6 a.m. this morning. We've been flying since then, and now we are out of fossil fuel. We got to land at Cutter Aviation and Sky Harbor, get some fuel in the Lions Roofing News Chopper, and jump back up in the air, and we'll continue to report all morning long and give you folks some information. So that's what it looks like. We're heading down to land. We'll send it back down to you, Javier, Olivia, and I'm not sure, Gina.
Yes. We got Gina. Yeah. Bruce, thank you so much. You guys have been doing such a remarkable job. And also, I had told us that we would be on the lookout for some helicopters and buckets. We potentially just heard from Phoenix Fire about some of the safety precautions that they're going to have to take regarding that. So we'll be looking for, it was interesting, an unmanned aerial, so a drone that will be able to be flying over to see where the hot spots are and help in targeting this firefight. So technology and good training all being put to really perfect use so far out there on Tempe Town Lake, guys.
And you think about the tools that they have available to them, and not even 5-10 years ago did they have drones, but this is an incredibly complicated firefight. Not only do you have a train, you've got materials that are hazardous that you're actually unsure of, but then it's also over a body of water. So lots of complications here, but also it's good to hear that they've got lots of tools at their disposal.
Yeah, and I think more amazing that nobody was injured, including that train crew who is now helping them as they try to figure out what's exactly in those tankers. So, guys, they have their work cut out for them, for sure.
No doubt about it. So lots still to learn about this scene as we continue to follow this developing story throughout the morning. If you need to head out the door, of course, we stream on our AZ Family mobile news app, so you can watch our continuing coverage right there and get any updates on our website, azfamily.com. Let's head over to Gina now for more on the traffic implications. And we did just hear from law enforcement about a closure on the 202.
That's right. And, we would have expected roads closed right around downtown Mill Avenue. But take a look at the freeway here. Hang tight. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to regroup, and we're going to get you the very latest on what exactly is shut down, including the 202, and we'll help you with alternates to get around the closures.
We continue to follow some breaking news after a train derails, catches fire, and a bridge partially collapsed. At last check, the fire was bumped up to a third alarm fire.
Nearly 100 firefighters on the scene battling this, dealing with hot conditions as well. So as you know, this is right near the light rail area. So there are a number of closures. We talked just a moment ago about the 202 stretch being closed. Valley Metro bringing in buses to get those light rail passengers to where they need to go, and most importantly, away from this scene, as we still don't know if there are hazardous materials or what the hazardous materials are, along with all of that lumber that's currently burning on the bridge. So let's get to Heidi now with the very latest on some of the movement happening around this scene.
Hey, good morning, Olivia. We are actually at the top of a parking garage just south of Tempe Town Lake, so I want to show you what we're able to see from this vantage point. There's the lake, there's the 202, no traffic, but you can see a lot of that overflow traffic back there on Curry. The good news is a lot of people are still working from home, so the overflow traffic not too intense. But as we show you this shot from our vantage point here, you can still see a lot of smoke. And as we're watching these fire crews try to put out this fire, they have a long reach with those, even with the ladder, it seems like the water is barely making it to where that smoke is coming from. And just a few minutes ago, we were able to see some pretty active flames there. So as you mentioned, a lot of closures in this area. The bridge that you see right here in the foreground, that is Mill Avenue. That bridge is closed, as Gina's been mentioning. But also public transportation hugely impacted by this. A lot of folks taking that light rail in and out of the Tempe Town Lake area. That is a no-go this morning. They just cannot get these trains through safely. Again, when you have 100 firefighters out here, crews on the north side of the lake, crews on the south side of the lake trying to put this out. We're going to move the camera for you off the tripod and show you, as you were talking about the light rail, the buses being brought in to remove some of these passengers who essentially made their way in here and now they can't get out. So this is the shot from the old Hayden Flour Mill, 3rd and Ash, 5th and Mill rather, right there. And you can see not a lot of traffic getting through. We just saw a Valley Metro bus leave the area. I was talking to the bus driver maybe an hour ago or so, and he said they're pretty glad right now that ASU is not in session just yet, because that would make the situation a whole lot worse, and they would have a really hard time getting people out of here. A lot of people, though, still up hiking a mountain right here, so there is still some activity in the area, but just not a lot. And again, avoid the area. They still don't know what's burning. A lot of smoke. I don't have my mask on right now, but a lot of people probably very happy they are required to wear masks, because it's a very heavy smoke presence here in Tempe. We'll send it back to you guys.
Well, Heidi, it's Gina here in the traffic center, the Hastings and Hastings Traffic Center very specifically, and I will continue our team coverage from a traffic standpoint and take a look at this. Heidi was talking about the roads in the downtown Tempe area. That is the 202, and just off to the side here is where the train is on fire. Let me give you another look here. This is the 202 in North Mesa. If you are coming from North Mesa and you're trying to get into Tempe, not going to happen. You can see all the traffic is being forced onto the Loop 101. So the 202 is actually closed in both directions. Let's first tackle the direction coming out of North Mesa here. So as you make your way from the 202, or you try to go north on the 101, nobody can head on to or transition to the 202 here. Let's talk about your alternates. I say whatever it takes, drop down to the US 60. That's going to be your best bet. You can take that into Phoenix. If you need to head into Scottsdale, maybe what you do is you take McKellips, and that can get you to the 101. That way you can avoid the backup. If you're coming from Phoenix, the 202 is shut down here at 40th Street. That's where you're forced off the freeway. I say if you're coming from Phoenix, don't even venture onto the 202. Let's see, did we lose that? I think that you need to take the I-10 into the US 60. That'll get you into the East Valley. If you need to get into Scottsdale, use the State Route 51. In fact, let's go ahead and see if we can't take a look. There we go. That is the camera at 40th Street, and you can see here as folks are, this is the direction that takes you into Tempe, and there is no traffic traveling there. And there you go. There's your alternate I-10 to the US 60 or the 51 to get you into Scottsdale. One more look here. Let's talk about the light rail, because Heidi was explaining how it's all shut down. If you take the light rail into the East Valley, at this point, Valley Metro is saying that you will be stopped at Washington and 38th Street. They've got buses there that will transport you to the East Valley. If you're coming from the East Valley trying to head into Tempe or into Phoenix, right there just at the 101 in Apache, that's where the train service stops. There are also buses there. They will take you into Phoenix. So once again, let's get you back here to the ADOT camera where you can see the 202. No traffic is getting through into the Tempe portion. You'll be forced off to the Loop 101.
All right. Thank you, Gina.
Thank you so much. Wow. Look at these images, Javier. Still taking my breath away here from the Lions Roofing News Chopper over the scene of this train derailment and fire in Tempe. Our continuing team coverage right after the break. Good morning, Arizona. We are continuing our coverage, team coverage of breaking news out of Tempe. This morning, Javier, we have been looking at dramatic images of a train that caught fire on the bridge over the water. Immense smoke billowing out over Tempe Town Lake, and just, incredible stories from the ground of people who witnessed this.
Yeah, and this is an iconic bridge, the Salt River Union Pacific Bridge, built in 1912, and then to see something like this happen where Union Pacific reports there was a derailment, that's when some of their cars caught fire, and then that's when the partial collapse of that bridge happened. So the good news in all of this is no reported injuries, although according to Union Pacific, someone was treated for smoke inhalation. So we want to turn now to Gibby, who is on the scene. You've been talking with various people who were just in that area exercising and out and about when that collapse happened right near them.
Yeah, it just happened right here, right behind me. Now, just to give you an idea, Javier, you mentioned 8 to 9 cars or so. Right over my shoulder, that's Union Pacific over there. What they've been doing here for the last 30 minutes or so have been going in between these carts, maybe trying to figure out how they are going to unhook it. We are also told by someone who worked for the railroad department that that black tank you see on the other side of the wood pile there, that's an oil tanker that they have there, but the question is it filled? It doesn't look like they're spending a lot of time there, so they're probably not too worried about it. The main thing is this out here, the one right behind me. You see, this is the first time this morning that ladder has stopped putting water onto this right here. They're also feeling a bit secure. I've seen 2 engines leave the area. At one point, they had 4 engines, 2 ladders trying to put out this fire. Now, one of the questions, and it's going to be for way later when they get into this investigation, one person I spoke with who lives right behind me said he had noticed them working on that area where the train actually derailed. And he said that there was railroad ties there as early as this morning. Guys.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Gibby, you guys have been doing such a great job giving us a perspective as this was really playing out, and we kind of didn't even know what was going to become of that structural situation out there. We do know that Javier, Phoenix Fire, saying that they're going to be very cautious with this because we still don't know about those hazmat materials, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's dangerous for everybody involved, especially those firefighters. So we're going to continue covering this from all angles, bring you all the latest information. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back as we leave you these images. Welcome back. We continue to follow this breaking news this morning after a train derailed, caught fire, and a bridge partially collapsed. This is video from our Lions Roofing news chopper. You could see those train cars and the train rails on fire, those flames billowing black smoke high into the sky. I mean, it's just an unbelievable scene, Olivia.
Especially because this is an area that people are just familiar with, whether you don't live or work in Tempe or didn't attend ASU. I mean, just pretty much daily, we're flying over Tempe Town Lake and giving you this really iconic signature view landscape of Arizona and of our valley, and now we know that it has changed in a dramatic fashion. So we're continuing our team coverage this morning as this is still developing, trying to figure out what went wrong, what else is on board this train, and how potentially dangerous it could be for the firefighters and the teams of people who are surrounding this. So Gibby, and Aaron are both on the ground in Tempe, bringing us the latest information. We will begin this time with Gibby, who really was first on scene and getting first-hand accounts of what it was like to watch this all play out.
Yeah, Olivia, as soon as we pulled up here to the scene, right away we were confronted by those who were just feet away from this bridge, giving us their encounter of what they saw and what they heard. They also sent us their cell phone videos to see exactly what they witnessed, and what you saw was that an intense fire, intense flames, and then you saw closer as they walked closer to the bridge, the collapse that had happened on the south side of this bridge and how mangled this train actually was. Shortly after that, what the valley saw was that dark, heavy smoke that was caused by the lumber that they were carrying on these train cars. According to Union Pacific, about 8 to 10 of them, which were damaged out here. No one hurt. They said one person was treated for smoke inhalation out here. One of the things that's interesting out here as well is that one neighbor told me, who lives just, excuse me, on the other side of this bridge, is that, excuse me, is that he noticed there was work in that area right there. But that's going to be something for another day. So, Ernie, you were there with the PIOs. They're giving you information on what they're doing to deal with this fire.
Yeah, Tempe Fire is telling us that they have about 90 firefighters from multiple agencies working on this scene. If you take a look behind me, you can see smoke still billowing from the area. Now, they actually received calls from people throughout the area around 6 o'clock this morning about this train derailment. And part of the bridge is also, we're told, collapsed. Now, several trains, like Gibby was mentioning, contain lumber, but there is some problematic trains, some train cars that they believe have hazardous material in them, but they have not been able to identify them. And Tempe Fire tells me that is affecting the way in which the crews will eventually knock out these flames.
At this point, due to the difficulties of fighting a hazardous materials fire on a train bridge over a body of water, we are going, again, slow and methodical to make sure that none of our first responders are hurt.
We don't want anybody in the beach park at this time. There's a lot of smoke going on in the area. Again, as the fire has talked about, we don't really know what's in those tankers, so we want to keep people away from that area. First Street, anywhere on First Street between Rio and Ash Avenue, we want to keep people out of that area.
Now, you heard it from Tempe Police there, along with Tempe Fire. They are taking kind of a standby and stay away approach. Now, we do know that the conductor of this train is okay. He's working with their hazmat team to help identify some of that hazardous material on board. Now, I'm also told that crews will be bringing in these tanker cars to help remove some of those other cars that are on the track and just get them out of the way. But there is about a 360 radius evacuation area here. This is a very active area of downtown, people running, biking, walking. But right now, emergency crews are telling everyone to please stay away from this area as they are continuing to work on how to eventually knock out all of those flames. And I'll send it back to you, Javier and Olivia.
It's going to be some time. They're going to be at work trying to fix and figure out what's going on for a long time.
Yeah, we're so lucky that there are no injuries there because of the fact that they do kind of need to keep their distance regarding those hazmat materials. Ernie, thank you so much. A reminder to everybody, Gina, as well, we're standing by. Maybe they're getting ready to head out the door to go back into the office. We know there's a couple high rises there just on the south side of the lake, closer towards the university. Lots of offices there. So, you know, you want to work from home today if you can, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I have to tell you, if this was a normal rush hour, boy, this would be an even bigger traffic headache. But we have some major closures as a result of the firefight. So there's the Mill Avenue Bridge, and then of course just south of here, downtown Tempe, where Ernie was reporting from, Gibby as well. And you can still see the black smoke that is billowing here from the train. Also here, what you see, no traffic on the 202. The officials have decided to completely shut down the freeway altogether. In fact, if you're watching us from North Mesa, you can see the traffic on the 202 here all being forced to the 101. Cannot take the 202 into Tempe. It's completely shut down. Let's talk about your alternates and getting around this closure, because this is pretty significant. So all roadways leading to the 202 westbound from the East Valley, you can see, are indeed shut down. I say let's just avoid that altogether. If you need to get into Phoenix, I think you drop down to the US 60 and you take that into Phoenix. If you need to head into Scottsdale, I think McKellips would work so that you can avoid this backup here. You can access the 101, and then you can make your way onto the 101 from there. If you are heading from Phoenix into Tempe, the 202 is shut down here as well. Quick correction. Initially, we thought it was closed at 40th Street. They have closed it at the 143. So the traffic is all being forced onto the 143. If you don't mind this backup, you could use that and take the 143 and then make your way into the East Valley that way. I say we avoid the 202 altogether. So here is the ramp for the 143. Actually, the traffic isn't that bad, but we do have a bit of a backup as folks are being forced onto the 143. And again, here is the 202 where no traffic is being allowed to travel. So if you're watching us from Phoenix, you need to head into the East Valley. I say again, avoid the 202, use the I-10, use the US 60. If you need to get into North Scottsdale, the 51, and then use local streets to cut across to Scottsdale there. And then we want to talk about light rail because a light rail is stopped. If you're coming from Phoenix at Washington and 38th Street, that's as far as you will go on a train. From there, they've got buses that'll transport you to the East Valley. If you're coming from the East Valley, from Mesa, right at the 101 in Apache, you won't get any further than that on a train. From there, though, they've got buses that are transporting people into Phoenix, so you will be able to indeed still be able to use public transportation to get into the Phoenix area. So let's round things out by bringing you back to that live look from the 202 and Center Parkway. You can see still all the black smoke that is billowing. We want to send it back up to Bruce Hafner in the Lions Roofing News Chopper. Bruce, no one can give us a perspective like you can, and boy, it has been quite a sight to behold here in North Tempe.
Yeah, unbelievable. We're getting a little bit better of a look here now that the smoke has dissipated a little bit more and the flames are pretty much gone. But look at this. That is where that railroad trestle built in 1912 collapsed under the weight of that train. Look at those tankers. I don't know what's in there. I haven't been listening. But, boy, thankfully nothing exploded there. But that didn't cause any problem there other than the collapse and the closure of the Rio Salado Parkway for quite a while now. But look at this railroad trestle across the Tempe Town Lake there, and the flames on the bridge are back towards the top part. You see the darker smoke. They've been able to knock down all the lumber that was on fire, and now this is the last part of the flames that we can see live here on the bridge there. So everything closed down here in the Tempe area. Forget about trying to come down here and be a looky-loo, because this one is going to be here all day long as they once get the fire out and then start trying to figure out how to clean this up. And Jerry, go into where that trestle collapsed right down there with the tankers in there, and look at this mess over the Rio Salado Parkway. Just that's what it looks like from the Lions Roofing News Chopper, and just unbelievable sight up here. And the fire departments, we got to give them a big thumbs up. All the fire departments from around the valley that responded to this to help Tempe work it, they did a great job, and they've knocked it down. Probably 70% of this fire is already out. And we also want to thank the air traffic controllers at Sky Harbor. They've been allowing us in here to get these shots to help tell the story and warn you folks about this problem here in Tempe all morning long. We want to thank Sky Harbor air traffic controllers. They've done an awesome job allowing us underneath the traffic taking off and being diverted away from this as well. The airliners being diverted north and south away from this area in Tempe Town Lake. So there you go from Lions Roofing News Chopper. We'll send it back downstairs to you guys.
And since you're giving kudos,
yeah, it's remarkable.
Bruce, kudos to you and Jerry up there providing these amazing shots of an unbelievable scene that had you not been up there, we couldn't have seen the images we saw this morning. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I know,
thank you very
without
much.
question. You guys have done an amazing job, and it just goes to show, Javier, how many entities have been at work in this, how significant this breaking news is for this community this morning. You've got firefighters, you've got police officers, DPS troopers closing portions of the freeway, and air traffic control, private commercial airlines, everybody impacted by this and dealing with this at this moment this morning. So we'll continue our coverage of this in Tempe throughout the rest of Good Morning Arizona.
Yeah, and we've been following this since shortly after 6 o'clock this morning. So if you're headed out the door, you need to get all the updates. Don't worry, we got you covered. Make sure you download the Arizona's Family News app, and we will send out push alerts of any new information that's important to you out there. We want to switch gears for really quickly and talk about the Department of Health Services just releasing the newest coronavirus numbers here in the state of Arizona. So another 2,339 people have tested positive, adding to the state total, which has now surpassed 168,000. Sadly, 46 people have reported to have died in the last 24 hours. That means close to 3,500 Arizonans have died since the pandemic started. There is a bit of some good news. We are seeing a change in our 7-day rolling average of positivity rates. It is now dropped from 22% to 20.7%. So that is some glimmer of hope out there. While ICU and inpatient bed usage did go up slightly, fewer of those spots are filled by COVID patients. So ventilator usage for COVID patients also dipped once again. So we're kind of seeing a back and forth, but just a reminder that we will break down these numbers and delve a little more into them coming up in the next half hour.
Let's get a check on your Wednesday forecast. Temperatures starting to climb right now. We're in the mid-90s around town. 94 in Phoenix, 93 right now in Chandler. Glendale checks in at 95 degrees and it's 93 in Scottsdale. Clear skies out there this morning. Clear skies across the state. In fact, a very quiet and hot weather pattern setting up the next couple of days. High pressure is there. It's a very strong. It's just in the wrong spot to get that monsoon moisture into the state. So our monsoon pattern is pretty much just shut off for the next couple of days. And a heat wave is what we are headed into. Really, you could consider that it started yesterday since we hit 115 yesterday. Today's going to be right close to that number as well, but our excessive heat warning actually starts at 10 o'clock this morning. It goes through Saturday night for all of the areas here shaded in this magenta color. That is going to include our entire Valley metro area. Temperature is going to be very dangerous. And we're not just talking about those highs, although those are pretty brutal too. 114 today is just a degree away from the record for this time of year, but our low this morning was 91 degrees. In the next couple of days, our lows won't drop below the 90s either. We'll break down that 7-day forecast for you in just a couple of minutes.
Well, we continue to keep an eye on the roadways, and we've got some major closures, including a huge stretch of the 202 shut down because of the firefight, the train that's on fire in north of the downtown Tempe area. Hang tight with Good Morning Arizona as we continue our coverage of the breaking news.
Welcome back. We continue to follow this breaking news this morning after a train derailed, caught fire, and then a bridge partially collapsed.
So this is obviously causing a number of issues in the Valley this morning, particularly for Valley Metro. So we have Susan Tierney on the line with us from Valley Metro to talk about how they are pivoting and handling this crisis, because a lot of the routes and plans that people use to get to work and to and from are canceled, being rerouted right now. So Susan, thanks for joining us this morning. What do we need to know?
Thanks, Olivia. Sure. So for Valley Metro Light Rail, as you can see, the bridge is not damaged, which we don't believe it's damaged, which is great news, but we're still going to be inspecting that, of course, throughout the day. We cannot operate train service across the Tempe Town Lake right now. So what we're doing is we're connecting our riders via buses. So if you're an eastbound passenger, you'll pick up a train at 38th Street in Washington. And if you're a westbound rider, then you'll pick up the bus at Smith, Martin, and Apache Station. And we'll just continue to connect riders in that way throughout the day until we know for sure that we can travel on the Tempe Town Lake Bridge again.
How many riders are we talking about affected, Susan?
Well, right now, ridership is a little bit down due to COVID, but that could be anywhere between 25 and 30,000 riders today, during the day, during the course of the day.
And
Susan, really we were talking about, I'm sorry, Javier, about how fortunate we are that this would happen when a lot of people are working from home and when ASU has not started on-campus learning yet. So it could be a lot worse, but you sure had to come up with a quick solution to an emergency this morning.
Right. So we're very fortunate that we have a yard of buses close by that we can call on for support, and they are prepared for these types of incidents, so they can support our train service anytime that we have a closure to our track area. We're just thankful that no one was injured. Hopefully there can be some resolution quickly to the fire going out, and us able to resume our service soon back on Tempe Town Lake Bridge.
Yeah, Susan, for the time being, with one stop in Phoenix, the other one closer to Mesa, will you still be able to get into downtown Tempe?
So right now the buses will be serving all of those stops that we are not serving by train.
Okay.
So we'll still be able to serve all those stations in between Phoenix and Tempe, but we will be doing it by bus instead of by train.
Susan, thank you so much for taking a moment out of what is obviously a hectic morning for everybody, particularly for Valley Metro this morning, to give us some insight. I want to let our viewers know, too, Valley Metro has been doing a great job on Twitter of giving those updates, so you can kind of revisit what she just spoke about there if you need a reminder. Susan, thank you.
Thank you so much, Javier and Olivia. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a great day.
Thanks.
What's your shot look like?
We want to turn now up to Bruce Hafner and our Lions Roofing news shopper, who's been giving us these unbelievable images all morning long. Bruce, what can you tell us right now?
Well, the good news is, if you look out the windshield of the Lions Roofing news shopper here in the cockpit, you don't see that big black plume of smoke in the air. Let's go to a live shot, or a video shot. We just shot the air traffic controllers at Sky Harbor have been incredible with us. Here's what's left on the bridge burning: a rail car full of lumber, and that is really the only hot spot on the bridge right now. Jerry, let's come to a live shot and show folks. There you go. The smoke has dissipated quite a bit, but everything closed down here in the Tempe Town Lake area. That's what it looks like from the Lions Roofing news shopper, and we'll send it back downstairs to you after a railroad derailment, and we'll send it back downstairs to you guys.
We continue to follow this news that we've been following since shortly after 6 o'clock this morning of a train derailment that then caught fire and a bridge partially collapsed. This is over Tempe Town Lake. This is known as the Salt River Pacific Union Bridge that was built in 1912. Now, the good news here is there were no injuries reported except for one person who had to be treated for smoke inhalation, according to Union Pacific.
Yeah, this is very good news, bottom line here, but what a dramatic morning it has been, and we have had the most incredible views of this as it was just raging at first from over the scene and on the ground. So let's head back up to the air right now where Bruce and Jerry are in the Lions Roofing news chopper. We're seeing the sky clear out a little bit, so definitely some progress, Bruce.
We wanted to go back to 6 a.m. this morning when we arrived on the scene in the Lions Roofing news chopper there. We're looking over the Tempe Town Lake towards ASU from the Scottsdale side, looking down there, and the whole bridge was on fire this morning. When we arrived, we couldn't believe our eyes. And then we got to the other side, and we noticed the trestle collapsed right onto the Rio Salado Parkway there with some tanker cars down there. We saw the firefighters arrive at the scene, and all of a sudden we saw them move away quickly because they weren't sure what they had with those tanker cars. So Gibby's on the ground. This was from 6 a.m. Gibby's got what it looks like now. Gibby, what do you have for us, buddy? No Gibby. Okay. Anyway, so there you go. The tanker cars down there, and it was just an unbelievable sight for us up here in the Lions Roofing news shopper to see that. And the Tempe firefighters obviously were on the scene first, but I am sure Phoenix, Glendale, Mesa, all the fire departments in the valley responded to this as they didn't quite know what they had. So that's what it looks like from the Lions Roofing news shopper. We'll send it back downstairs to you guys.
Yeah, something of this significance is an all hands on deck, and that means a lot of agencies from across the valley moving in to help, especially not knowing what they were up against with the hazard material, fighting the fire from the water and from the ground as well. So a crazy scene, but they've all done an amazing job, Olivia.
Yeah, they have, and don't forget there are road closures thanks to DPS to keep people away from this, so we'll talk about that more in the 9 o'clock hour. Continuing coverage of a fire over Tempe Town Lake this morning.